Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to the second AEGIS webinar titled Civil Protection in Europe, Which Perspectives, with speaker Mr. Laurent ALFONSO, European Affairs Officer at the Ministry of the Interior of France. AEGIS webinars is an innovative action of the National Observatory of Athens, which brings together research, academic, governmental, policy, industrial, and other stakeholders with a significant interest in earth security, safety and risk resilience, and civil protection. Please let me welcome the Director of the National Observatory of Athens and President of the Board of Directors, Professor Maroulis Pionis, Mr. George Boustas, Professor of Disasters Risk Assessment of the European University of Cyprus and visiting researcher at the National Observatory of Athens, and Dr. Konstantinos Potiriadis, Head of the Environmental Radioactivity Monitoring Department of the Greek Atomic Energy Commission, who will all have short interventions following the presentation of our esteemed main speaker. Mr. Alfonso, de la part de l'Observatoire national d'Athènes, je voudrais vous remercier pour avoir accepté notre invitation à participer au deuxième AEGIS webinar. Bien que j'aime beaucoup le français, on doit continuer en anglais. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give you some information and key points from the CV of our speaker. Mr. Alfonso has been a fire officer for 26 years. He has held several positions as head of a center, head of a department in connection with prevention, coordination center, and the reception of emergency calls. He has participated in large-scale national interventions in forest fires and floods, as well as in international cooperation missions for France, in Europe, Maghreb, West Africa, and South America. In the framework of the Union Civil Protection Mechanism, he has participated in international exercises, peer reviews, and deployed as a forest fire expert in Chile in 2017, and more recently, in September 2019, as deputy and team leader in Bolivia. He was the coordinator of the Euro-Mediterranean program PPRD South Phase 3. He holds the position of European Affairs Officer and as such participate in United Nations for Disaster Risk Reduction and the Union for the Mediterranean Works, participate in European Commission's Civil Protection Committee, as well as in several expert working groups on European projects as Horizon 2020. He is an integral part of the team of the French presidency of the Council of the European Union, which will start in January 2022, and he's personally involved in the VOST, Virtual Operations Support Team, at European level and member of the Pau Costa Foundation. Monsieur Alfonso, la parole est à vous.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Dimo, and congratulations for your French. First of all, I would like sincerely and warmly thank you for the invitation. You personally, on behalf of the National Observatory of Athens, and my dear friends, Professor George Boustas, Director of CERIDES. Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure and an honor for me to be with you, which is a special day here in France because it's our national day.
Ah, okay, yes.
So it's really an honor for me to be present with you and to give you some input and to make this presentation. About civil protection Europe and which perspectives. So if you allow me, I will share a small presentation with you just to illustrate my speech. Can you see it well? Yeah?
Yeah, we can see.
Perfect. So if you allow me, I will start this presentation. So as introduction, I would say that through my speech, which is not, which does not officially commit my authorities, of course, but I want to share with you some thoughts based on my experience and different mandates about the challenges that Europe has already overcome and how it is already preparing to face new challenges. These two challenges are that the European Union will face in the field, of course, of civil protection, and for the benefit of European citizens, but not only. Sorry. And to know where we are going, we need to know and remember when we came from. Organization change, people change, context, environments, and ecosystem change. If the COVID-19 crisis acted as an accelerator, a revelation of our strengths and weaknesses, it has highlighted the need for rapid and flexible adaptation while new challenges are emerging. The objectives, expectations, means, tools, and funding are all elements that are operational, but that must be renewed by the member states and participants in the European Civil Protection Mechanism. I propose to approach this presentation in 4 steps. First one, a quick presentation of the mechanism. Second, the context linked to climate change. Third, the current and future threats and challenges. And fourth, optimistic elements on possible perspectives. So the European Civil Protection Mechanism is often known to the general public for the operational response it provides within Europe and increasingly outside of our area. It is based on the European Union core value, which is solidarity, and supported by the great Directorate General ECHO in charge of humanitarian and civil protection. The operational response is the result of lessons learned from past major disasters that have affected Europe and the world. As you know, France is a pillar of the mechanism, and as such is the main contributor of operational response resources with nearly 18 different modules covering 5 identified risk themes, while Greece is also a major contributor with 8 modules. Disaster response is essentially based on 2 levels: the voluntary pool, ECPP, European Civil Protection Pool, and rescue. The latter protocol is developed around existing modules such as aerial forest fighting, medical evacuation, MEDEVAC, medical stockpiles, the more recent initiative within rescue protocol. Greece have created 1 medical stockpile, and others under discussion, such as CBRN modules, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear modules. An EMT3 at European level shared between several countries. EMT means emergency medical team, sorry. Also, we are discussing about emergency shelters, transport and logistics, and we also initiate the idea of power generators in our last meetings. These last 3 capabilities are witnesses of a broadening of the civil protection base towards a kinetic oriented towards humanitarian assistance, with the aim of going further than a first level response aiming at relief to adapt to emerging risks. The mechanism has been the subject of 3 major decisions in 2001, 2013, 2019, and recently in 2021 in May, taking into account the lessons learned from COVID-19. This slight regulation, which is more a reglement, was adopted the 20th of May by the Parliament. Grants will be more flexible when activation. This new decision will provide for common disaster resilience objectives. It will also bring a strengthening of the prerogative of the ERCC, which is the European Coordination Center. ERCC means Emergency Response Coordination Center, and will renew programs in the area of prevention and preparation. We will thus gain in autonomy and resilience, taking, for example, the more 100,000 European citizens we were repatriated in 2021 during the crisis of COVID-19 from the 4 corners of the globe during this crisis and under the mechanism. This was quite new for the mechanism, because at the beginning it was not clearly in the mandate of the mechanism. But we did it on this umbrella, and was a great success. The second point of this presentation will deal with climate change. There is no need to argue about climate change, which is now a reality and is reflected in sudden, violent and devastating natural phenomena. Europeans at the latest barometer shows that they are aware of this state of affairs and of the threat it poses in their daily lives. In addition to known natural hazards such as flood, forest fires, landslides, storms, tornadoes, and so on, there are also extreme temperatures and droughts. This translates into significant loss of life and property, unfortunately, which has been increasing over the last few decades, with a greater occurrence, as this recent UNDRA report shows. This is a significant cost for our society, and we must learn to live with this phenomena, as well as to try to reduce their consequences. It is in this sense that the mechanism is developing and multiplying programs to provide organizational prevention and response to these disasters. To do this, it relies on the need-scale phenomena have abolished distances and borders, forcing us to cooperate more closely in change on our societies. But there is particular concern about drought, water scarcity, and the resilience of our critical entities. Concerning this last subject, a new directive is under discussion within the Commission, enlarging the so-called critical areas from 4 to 10. At this level, I don't want to forget the overseas territories, which are particularly fragile and exposed, such as the rise in sea levels. The fourth theme I would like to share with you its threats and challenges. Natural risk, but also technical and anthropogenic risk are new threats. Our increasingly urban society are highly dependent on computer networks, making them vulnerable. Multinodal interactions remain difficult to measure, access, and predict. Artificial intelligence has developed thanks to new technologies and scientific progress, leading to the modernization and automation of tasks. Cyber attacks and the resistance of IT structures to extreme weather events expose us to business continuity disruptions, the effect of which can affect the population in large numbers. Similarly, the emergency services, own resources, and infrastructure can also be affected and depend on new technologies and need energy. The health risk with the appearance of the coronavirus reminded us that as humans, we are directly exposed at all times and in all places, even in our own homes. It is very notion of individual and collective vulnerability that was brought to light, and also referring to us to our individual and collective responsibilities in a global dimension, abolishing, in fact, the notion of border that I previously mentioned. The mechanism adapted very quickly after the shortcoming at the beginning of the crisis and was revised. So started in June of 2020 and has been adopted under the decision 2021-846 and taken in account the lessons learned from the pandemic, increasing member states' preparedness in the event of a crisis and enabling the Commission to have its own resources, capacities, such as the storage of medical arsenals, the famous stockpiles, which are destined to develop or a growing risk in connection with Siberian accidents. Risk coverage must be organized around European Center of Expertise spread throughout Europe in order to network our territory. They would be able to create thematics and geographical synergies. I think it is the step forward. Similarly, tools for forecasting, anticipation, warning, and action are developed in connection with the Horizon 20 program, Horizon Europe, and Green Deal program. And fourth part of this presentation will focus on perspectives. Solidarity aims to reduce inequalities in risk exposures. There is a need to optimize the common language and work on technological and organizational interoperability to standardize our approach to disaster prevention, preparedness, and response. DG ECHO is leading the way with technical support from the Joint Research Center, GRC, Copernicus, the European Earth Observation Satellite Program, and EUSPA, the European Space Program Agency, recently created. This agency has developed GovSatcom, governmental satellite communication, a secure European satellite communication system that will allow, among other things, the maintenance of a network in the event of the assignment of terrestrial infrastructure for emergency services as well as the sending of warning and information messages to the public via Galileo. The RCC, Common Emergencies Communication and Information System, the CESIS platform, will be modernized to improve efficiency and strengthen link with national coordination centers. This will allow for optimized management of European CCP and rescue resources for deployments within or outside the EU. It should be recalled that over the last 5 years, 219 activations have been carried out, and 102 of which in 2020 alone. The knowledge network will be officially launched in December of 2021, at the end of this year, which will be a catalyst for the mechanism Vital Forces based on 2 pillars of knowledge integration in terms of operational capabilities on one hand and scientific knowledge on the other. This melting pot will also include trainings, exercises, exchange of experts, lessons learned, with the possibility of organizing conferences, workshops, and seminars in order to facilitate and encourage exchanges and networking. It will be a powerful lever and a toolbox for civil protection actors beyond the official institutions and member or participation states. Sorry, this is another slide of the different perspectives. And I would like to mention that the collaboration with neighboring countries is also very important and will be integrated in the European Civil Protection Knowledge Network. In that way, the Union for Mediterranean play a key role to bridge the European Union, the civil protection mechanism, and the other shore of the Mediterranean. It's important to make this link and to develop exchanges with North Africa and Middle East to benefit from their experiences and specifically regarding the climate change that affects them particularly. And last point, I would like also to stress out that the multi-annual financial framework, was adopted last month, and we allow for the next 6 years to the mechanism around 3.3 billion euros. So that a really strong effort made by the Parliament and all the member states. And this will allow a real budget, a consequent budget to develop this prevention and preparedness programs, but also to improve our response capabilities, and in particular within the rescue protocol that I already mentioned in the previous point. And as a conclusion, before to thank you for your attention, as you will have understood, the European mechanism is a formidable tool for managing risk within and outside the EU. Over the years, the European Union has been able to equip itself with a range of instruments that is unique in the world, but which is now being turned upside down by climate change and hybrid threats that threaten Europe's citizens all over the world, and which could lead two complementary weapons in its quest of protection and universalism, based on a powerful administrative, technical, and financial structure, allowing us to propose an influence strategy. The challenge of communication between states and with citizens must lead us to a strengthening of the culture of risk for greater resilience, making the citizen the first actor of its own security. Technological advances allow us to bend the linearity of time in order to anticipate, apprehend, and coherently coordinate our efforts to safeguard our equilibrium. And to conclude, very inspiring, I recommend you to read the report of the former French European Commissioner, Michel Barnier, who wrote a report in 2006 entitled "For a European Civil Protection Force, Europe-AID." That's it for me. Thank you so much for your attention. And of course, if there is a round of a question, it will be my pleasure to answer. Thank you.
If we will have, thank you very much, Mr. Alfonso, for your presentation. If we will have questions, so we will have to, you will have to answer them by the end of this webinar. I would like to continue with the short intervention, starting with Professor Manolis Plionis, Director of the National Observatory of Athens. Mr. Plionis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mrs. Dimou. I would like to thank our esteemed speaker for a very interesting and very in-depth presentation of various broad band issues of civil protection in Europe. I think it's commonplace that we are facing a climate crisis due to the significant increase in levels of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, an increase in the average global temperatures, rising sea levels, and the associated extreme meteorological phenomena and natural disasters, such as the most recent and intense heat waves, forest fires, droughts, flash floods. We had our share in Greece as well, which in 2020 alone are estimated that they have caused more than $210 billion of global damage, in addition to, of course, the many losses of human lives. And the important thing which we need to understand is that these figures is an increase by 26% with respect to 2019. So we have a rapid increase of the damage, and which is measured in the economical terms, but also in human lives. Scientists around the world, like the National Observatory of Athens, have been called upon to develop novel climate monitoring systems, as well as services and tools to assist the state in dealing, and the European Union, of course, in dealing with severe natural and man-made disasters, anthropogenic disasters, as we call them, systems which are based either on satellite data or ground-based monitoring systems, developing early warning and forecasting systems, and attempt to use the most novel techniques that we have on hand, like artificial intelligence, machine learning, methodologies, etc. International coordination efforts have also been undertaken by the UN, of course, the European Commission, and there have been various platforms have been set up, like the Global Disaster Alert and Coordination System, a platform to improve alerts and information exchange and service coordination in the immediate aftermath of major natural disasters. Respectively, of course, the European Commission has set up the EU Civil Protection Mechanism. It's almost 20 years now. And within Copernicus has been set the EFIS, the European Forest Fire Information System, the EFAS, the European Flood Alert System, and many other platforms which are in coordination and collaboration, close collaboration with national hydrological and meteorological services, the Joint Research Center, national research institutions like NOAA, and others, of course. In Greece, respectively, a great effort is made by the national research centers and the universities, which I believe have excellent results. The need for close cooperation with the state, between the state and public research institutions and universities need to be deepened, and better coordination action should be taken. We also need, our part, we need to understand the needs of the state, but also we need to promote to the states all the richness of the available modern scientific means, which is imperative if we want to actually increase the civil protection based on what we know with regard to the existing national disaster, but also the one we forecast for the future under the climate crisis that we know that is underway. There is a relevant article in the new law of civil protection, the law 4662 of 2020, which among others establishes the Scientific Advisory Council of Civil Protection. That is a council that will be represented from all those scientific bodies that partake in the effort to develop such tools and services towards the civil protection community. And this article should be implemented. It hasn't been implemented yet, but I believe it will be implemented in the future. Finally, I would like to mention in my brief contribution to this webinar, the efforts that has been taken from the part of the state and from the part of National Observatory of Athens, I will speak particularly for my organization, is that we have been financed to coordinate the CLIMPACT flagship initiative. This is an initiative which aims in coordinating a nationwide network of research organizations for the integration and optimization of existing climate services, data collection and certification of the data, which is essential, and development of forecasting and early warning systems. This is a flagship initiative which is underway at this particular moment, and I think will have very interesting and important results. Furthermore, the National Observatory of Athens is developing the Pangea Geophysical and Climate Change Observatory, a new infrastructure of the observatory at Antikythera, a specific island in the middle of the Aegean, let's say probably in the western Aegean, which is going to be a unique superstation in the southeast Mediterranean, and has been financed. It is financed by the European Investment Bank and via national funds as well. A second major contribution of the National Observatory of Athens is the development, which is again underway, of the AEGIS. Part of this project is also this series of webinars, which is the Center of Security, Safety and Hazard Risk Resilience within the National Observatory of Athens, an integrated science hub with the aim to make groundbreaking research and provide leading edge and innovative services and tools towards the state regarding Earth's security, safety, and hazard risk resilience. This aim will be achieved by acquiring state-of-the-art instrumentation and by exploiting, from the one side, the unique synergies among the scientists of the National Observatory of Athens, which cover a very broad range of themes, from subsoil to Earth's surface, to the lower and upper atmosphere, the ionosphere, the near Earth and interplanetary space. And secondly, by the extensive space and ground-based NOAA infrastructure, we have, for example, 700 ground-based metric infrastructures all over Greece that at any instance collect terabytes of data on a daily basis. And of course, with the extensive synergies that we have already with national and international stakeholders and organizations, Copernicus, ESA, NASA, WMO, the GEO, UNESCO, etc. Lastly, and I will close my contribution at this saying the following: the National Observatory of Athens is leading the national effort regarding the European programs of Skylight and SST. And on this respect, the Aristarchos telescope has been selected. A telescope of 2.3 meter at Helmos Mountain has been selected by ESA as the first European ground-based station of the Skylight New Telecommunication Avenue of the future, otherwise called Fibers on the Sky. Therefore, I believe that the National Observatory of Athens is a lead organization, scientific organization regarding a broad range issues that can help the civil protection authorities, and we're doing our best in that respect. Thank you very much.
Professor Pleonis, thank you very much for your speech. Next speaker is Mr. George Boustras, Professor of Disasters Risk Assessment of the European University of Cyprus and visiting researcher at the National Observatory of Athens. Mr. Boustras.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Dimou. Thank you very much for coordinating this very important webinar. And I would like again to congratulate Laurent for the National Day of France, and of course to thank him for being here with us on the day that he's off. I know that Laurent is not only a theoretician, but he's an operational civil protection expert who just came back from a very long distance travel. So I'm sure that he could have used this time, this precious time with his family and friends. But I'm very thankful for him for accepting our invitation today. I'm not going to talk for too long. Unfortunately, reality is catching up with us. Last week, or a few days ago, less than 10 days ago, we had the most dramatic, the biggest forest fire that was ever recorded in history in Cyprus. And how is this related to our discussion today? The fire was extinguished because of the help of the European Civil Protection Mechanism. 2 Canadaires from Greece, that is the closest member state to Cyprus, were mobilized within an hour. And they arrived early in the next morning, and they were directly engaged in the firefighting effort. And there is another dimension, though, that I would like to mention, that again, reality is catching up, because it is very important to note that it wasn't only the European Union engaging in this episode, it was also the State of Israel, which is one part, but there was also the Arab Republic of Egypt that declared that they were ready to send 2 more air firefighting planes. And this shows us that DG ECHO, of course, makes particular reference and particular effort to providing the necessities for a good neighborhood program, both with the Middle East as well as North Africa. And this is very important for the European Union to have a quiet, safe and secure neighborhood and neighbors. So what I see arising from that is perhaps a future direction where we're going to have also more regional collaboration efforts, of course, with the active involvement of the Union, which is doing a great job in this respect. And how do we understand that the Union is doing great work in these respects? Thinking about the recent fire in Cyprus that was extinguished within a day or something, I went back and I looked back at the early fires of the early 80s, 2000, 2001, more or less, not in the same area, but quite close to the affected area. And it was really amazing to realize that there was no external help. Okay, that's something. There was no air firefighting at that time. So things are progressing. And why I'm saying this is because apart from being scientists, we are citizens as well. And as citizens, we are unfortunately used to expect and anticipate immediate help from the firefighting and the civil protection organizations, which is sometimes because of the severity of the episodes, as well as the climate change that it is happening much faster than we were anticipating, not immediately available. I'm not going to talk for any longer. These were the few things that I wanted to lay on the table and I think they contribute to today's discussion. Again, thank you very much, Laurent, and thank you very much, Athena, for organizing this, and the National Observatory of Athens that is really putting into practice what should have been done for many years now. What is this? Becoming a focal point for not only National Observatory of Athens, but for other organizations to have useful discussions on real problems that are happening as we speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Doustras, and for your good words as well. And we proceed with the last intervention of Dr. Konstantinos Potiriadis, head of the Environmental Radioactivity Monitoring Department of the Greek Atomic Energy Commission, who will have a short intervention titled Update of the National Preparedness and Response System for a Nuclear or Radiological Emergency in Greece. Mr. Potiriadis, hello.
Thank you, Athena. Thank you very much to invite us, the Greek Atomic Energy Commission, in this very important event organized by the National Observatory of Athens. I will present you the main actions undertaken by the Greek Atomic Energy Commission in reviewing and updating the national system for management of radiological and nuclear emergencies as part of the general civil protection system of the country. The need for this review arose due to the new regulatory framework that was established in the light of the current European and international basic safety standards. The first step of this update is the assessment of the potential emergencies that may pose a radiological risk. This assessment includes the identification of the risks, the estimation of the consequences, and the suggested strategies to mitigate these consequences according to International Atomic Energy Agency safety standards. In this context, in 2019, a detailed assessment of the nuclear and radiation-related threats has been completed. The following cases have been identified. First, accident on a nuclear-propelled ship. The second, accident at a nuclear power plant in a neighboring country. An accident at an authorized facility within the country. Radiological emergency in an unpredictable location within the country. And a CBRN event due to a malicious act. This first assessment has been approved by the Greek Atomic Energy Commission and submitted to the General Secretariat for Civil Protection to be used for update the existing or for the preparation of the new emergency response plans which have been drafted or have been completed. These plans determine and assign the roles and responsibilities of each group, organization, or individual involved in emergency preparedness and response. In order to cope with its statutory duties, Greek Atomic Energy Commission has established an internal emergency plan as a critical part of its integrated management system. Regarding the process of information and public awareness, Greek Atomic Energy Commission launched an institutional project entitled Assessment of the National System for Protection Against Ionizing and Non-Ionizing Radiation, Awareness Raising Actions. With other things, the project aims to present information to the members of the public likely to be affected in the event of an emergency. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Potiriadis. I would like to thank you all for your participation at the second AEGIS webinar. Do you have any further interventions? Something to add? Okay, the webinar will be available on NOAA's YouTube channel, and I would like to thank you all again for your participation, and we would like to let you know that we will proceed with the next webinar, the third AEGIS webinar, on September 2021. So see you then. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Everyone, have a
Bye.
nice day.
Thank you.
Bye.